Hey guys, welcome to our last session series. So we've been talking about this series called Driven. We've been talking about spiritual disciplines. So what have we covered? Study, prayer and solitude, worship, and today we're talking about service. Now, serving is something that we like to do here at 3D. You know, we have Serve the Berg.
Yeah.
Which has been really good. We have Renew Camp, which is my favorite week of the year. So we really value serving, but we're going to talk about why we value serving and why it's like actually important to our faith and our understanding of who God is. So,
all right. So I've shared some car analogies with you. I got another one.
Okay,
you
good.
ready?
I'm buckling up.
Oh, excellent.
I know.
That was excellent.
I know.
That was
That
nice.
was
Okay, so we talked the first week about how the purpose of a car is to get you from point A to point B, right? And to go places with your car. But, you know, there have been times that my car hasn't been working. I put it in the shop, or I need to get an oil change. And my good pal Olivia has given me a ride back to the church so I can do some work. And, you know, I've appreciated her caring for me in that way.
Yes.
That was nice and helpful. She used her car to help me. There's also like, okay, if you were to carpool, right? If you're to go to work and you go and you pick up the other people along your way that go the same place as you, you are serving them, but also you're serving the world because you're caring for the environment. So
that's good.
Just the basic analogy is that we can use, just like we can use our car to serve others and to serve the world, we can use our faith and should use our faith to serve others and to serve the world.
Love that. So, I have a story.
I like story time.
Yeah. So this week we're going to be in the New Testament. We spent a lot of time in the Old Testament, I think, and this week we're going to be in John. John chapter 6. And we're talking about the story where Jesus feeds the 5,000. Now, some of you might know this story, but let me give you some backstory. My faith. Give some backstory. So, basically, what we know is that Jesus and his disciples are in, like, kind of a remote location. There's no, like, Chipotle or Chick-fil-A around.
It's like grottos.
It's like, they're in grottos. The grottos of the Middle East, basically. And so my point is that there's just no, like, food resources besides the ocean, but they don't have time for that. And so, or the sea. And so, don't you guys love my retelling of Bible stories? It's super theological. And so they don't have a resource to food. And it's getting late in the afternoon, and the disciples are like, Jesus, we need to send these people home. So that they can go get food. But Jesus, we read in the story that Jesus, like, wants to teach these people. You know, they're like sheep without a shepherd, we read in one of the retellings. And so he feels, like, compelled to teach them. So he doesn't want to send them away. And so we read about a boy who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But we also know there are 5,000 people. But also, because we're reading the Bible, we know that 5,000 people actually only means 5,000 men. That doesn't mean all the women and children that are there. So there are, like,
a bunch.
I mean, there could be 10,000 people there. We have no idea.
Right.
It's more than 5,000, though. And so the disciples come back and they only have, you know, the little bit of food. And so we pick up in verse 10 and we see that Jesus said, have the people sit down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. Sorry that I'm stuttering so much. And so he basically took all, like, this little amount of food, and he fed everyone. And so what's the point of that story, right? Jesus did a miracle. It's very cool. But I think the thing that we don't want to miss is that Jesus is Jesus. He can do whatever he wants, right? Like, he has the power and the authority. So he could have said, like, I'm just going to make these people full.
Yeah.
With a snap of my fingers. Or he could have said, like, I'm actually important enough that they can stay here and be hungry and listen to what I have to say. Right. But instead, he took the little bit of food he had and he, like, did the work.
Mm-hmm.
He did the work of multiplying it and serving the 5,000 plus people when he could have just said, like, you're not hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't just see him, like, say, all right, come get what you want. We see him and his disciples serving the people. And so not only was Jesus serving them,
Mm-hmm.
he was engaging his followers in service to the people as well.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
And at the end, you didn't read this part, but it's there. They gather up, after the people leave, they gather up the leftovers. And they end up with 12 basketfuls of leftovers. And that part always stands out to me because even in the serving, cleanup crew doesn't feel like the coolest serving position. But in that service, the disciples have in their hands just basket after basket of the evidence of the work of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's rich.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So, like usual, we're inviting you guys to serve this week. And so this, serving doesn't have to look like one thing, right? And so that could look like baking cookies.
Pumpkin pie for your neighbor.
Sure, pumpkin pie for your neighbor. It could look like serving on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
In children's ministry, or like waving a sign on Port Road, or like raking your neighbor's leaves.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to ask you to do in your small groups. We have been giving you resources and tools, but we want to actually ask you this week in your small group to think of one way that everyone in your group can serve someone this week. So you can do that together. You could like pick a time to go to Hope Distributed and serve this week as a group. Yeah. Or you could say, like, why don't each of us in our group write a teacher in our life a kind note?
Yeah.
And so just pick one way that at least one way, you could do more.
Yeah.
At least one way in your group that your group can serve our community this week. And I guarantee that it will be really good, really good experience.
To collect a lot of evidence of the work of God.
Of who God is, yeah. So enjoy small group. Have a good conversation. Mm-hmm. Thanks, guys. This has been great.
Yep.
We'll see you next time.